While suppressing the repulsive force within, Wang Lin gazed at the massive cultivation star, his eyes filled with contemplation. This star had a restriction, and it seemed that this restriction, along with the swirling vortex, formed the second major gate to the Cultivation Alliance headquarters. This restriction was highly ingenious. Using the dozens of small stars around it as part of a formation, they were intricately interlinked, causing the star to function like a cultivator. It could actually cultivate. This was something Wang Lin had never seen before. Upon witnessing it today, his eyes couldn't help but flash with surprise. This star is quite intriguing. Yen Lazy, back when you were still an elder of the Alliance, have you ever heard of anything about this star? Yen Lazy, awakened from his shock, became even more respectful. He quickly cupped his hands and said in a low voice, I have heard some rumors. This enormous cultivation star was not naturally formed, but was instead forged by the Cultivation Alliance using numerous smaller cultivation stars. Cultivating on it brings great benefits, as it doubles the results with half the effort. Moreover, under the spell cast by Dragon Disciple, this star was imbued with an unknown divine ability, becoming the Cultivation Alliance's second major formation. Its power is said to surpass even the ancient vortex. However, in those days, outsiders rarely had the opportunity to enter here, so I have never personally witnessed the power of this formation. After finishing his words, Yen Lazy seemed to recall something and spoke again. That Dragon Disciple was the Grand Elder of the Cultivation Alliance back then, and also the Master of Zhongxuanzi. But that person had already entered Nirvana long ago and passed away. Not necessarily. Wang Lin's gaze was sharp as he looked at the massive cultivation star. Within it, he sensed 4 distinct auras. 3 of them were clearly tense and trembling subtly. The final aura, however, seemed to be in a deep slumber. Around them, the nearly 10,000 cultivators were all kneeling, their bodies shaking, their minds clouded with fear. Their lives and deaths were no longer in their own hands, controlled entirely by the white-robed sealing venerable, whose presence forced them into submission. The 3 black dragons coiled around them also trembled, their eyes filled with awe. Even their roars had turned into whimpers. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the massive cultivation star and, while suppressing the repulsive force within, raised his right hand and grabbed at the 3 devotional black dragons. The 3 dragons trembled and were involuntarily pulled toward Wang Lin. With a single motion of his right hand, one of the interlaced dragons was violently shaken out and grabbed by Wang Lin's virtual grip around its neck. The black dragon, twisting like a serpent, writhed in fear. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with golden light as he looked at the dragon, his gaze possessing penetrating power. He could clearly see within the dragon's body that thousands of souls from the realm of devotional power were trapped inside. Among them, a few seemed familiar to him. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. His right hand tightened, and with a resounding boom, the dragon let out a horrific scream, its body twisting as a golden light shot from Wang Lin's palm, entering the dragon's body. In an instant, the thousands of souls it had consumed were forced out and dissolved into smoke, entering the cycle of reincarnation. With a flick of his wrist, Wang Lin threw the devotional black dragon toward Yen Lazy. Do you remember when we first met? You once said I was your destined person. This item is for you. The devotional power may be toxic, but for you, it could be more beneficial than harmful. With this devotional power, if you have the right opportunity, you might just become a great power. Yen Lazy trembled in excitement, his expression filled with overwhelming emotion. He immediately grabbed the sealed black dragon and stood for a long moment, unsure of what to say. With a mixture of excitement and complexity, he deeply bowed to Wang Lin. How could he forget their first meeting, where he had jokingly referred to Wang Lin as his destined person? He never imagined that this playful remark would eventually become reality. The Shengong clan has a son named Shengonghu. Is he still alive? Wang Lin scanned the nearly 10,000 outer realm cultivators around him, all of whom seemed like dead men in his eyes. Yen Lazy, trembling as he carefully stored the black dragon, suppressed his excitement. He then respectfully answered, Shengonghu? I remember him. He's still alive, residing in Luotian. A trace of nostalgia flickered in Wang Lin's eyes as memories of Shengonghu's past deeds resurfaced in his mind. Back then, Shun Gonghu's cultivation was higher than his own, yet the stubborn youth had acknowledged Wang Lin as his master. Every time Wang Lin thought about it, he couldn't help but smile. Shun Gonghu and I share a past. When you return to Luotian, take care of him for me. Wang Lin raised his right hand once more and slapped, sending the second black dragon flying. After capturing and dispersing the souls of the inner realm cultivators within, he tossed it toward Yin Lazy. Give this to Shin Gonghu, and tell him that this is my gift to him, his fate for calling me master all those years ago. Yin Lazy paused, a hint of envy flashing in his eyes. He quickly nodded, accepting the second devotional black dragon. With his golden gaze now resting on the third black dragon, Wang Lin's eyes flashed with coldness as he slowly spoke. You can understand my words, so go and devour the myriad cultivators here. Break this formation for me, and I might spare your life. The black dragon trembled, suddenly lifted its head, turned, and roared toward the multitude of outer realm cultivators behind it. The chilling screams echoed continuously throughout the starry sky, and even Yin Lazy felt a flicker of unease. Despite being an inner realm cultivator himself, witnessing those outer realm cultivators being devoured one by one, their struggles became feeble in front of the black dragon. As he watched this scene, a mix of relief and deeper awe for Wang Lin's ruthlessness washed over him. Before the black dragon, the nearly 10,000 cultivators had no ability to resist, especially when the black dragon felt a glimmer of hope in Wang Lin's words amid their fear and despair. It went almost insane, letting out a terrifying roar that shook the heavens. In just a few breaths, none of those 10,000 cultivators survived. They were all consumed, becoming souls within the realm of devotional power. Meanwhile, the flesh and blood of these cultivators merged into the black dragon's body, causing its color to take on a purplish hue. The barbed spikes on its body writhed and grew longer, even the horn on its head extended by an inch. With a thunderous roar, the black dragon's body swelled to double its size, its massive form surging towards the giant cultivation star. Its speed was so incredible that it left afterimages, rapidly approaching as it crashed into the cultivation star with a booming sound that shook the heavens and earth. The tremendous roar reverberated in all directions, and as the cultivation star shuddered, the surrounding smaller stars seemed to be drawn in by some strange force, colliding towards it. The thunderous noise disturbed the starry sky, and in the impact of the black dragon, a circular shockwave spread out violently. The black dragon shuddered and was pushed back far away as the giant cultivation star also trembled and developed numerous cracks and gorges. Wang Lin stood calmly, the repulsive force in his body gradually being suppressed again as he fixed his gaze on the giant cultivation star. He observed that the moment the cracks appeared, the previously dormant fourth aura abruptly awakened. With this awakening, the giant cultivation star seemed to breathe life into it. Surrounding smaller stars arranged themselves in two lines, connected by strands of shadow radiance, flanking the massive cultivation star. Moreover, a white glow enveloped the giant cultivation star, ascending into the sky, and within it, a phantom of an elderly man with white hair faintly materialized. This elder was ethereal, connected to the cultivation star, indistinguishable from it, as though he were the very soul of the star. Those who offend our alliance will face the Tao dispersion and soul scattering, with flesh perishing and bodies annihilated. A profound soul voice, echoing with the weight of ancient times, emerged from the elder's body, cascading into the starry sky, penetrating Wang Lin's soul, and reaching into Yin Lazy's frame. Long Ponzai. The moment Yin Lazy spotted the white-haired elder, his eyes widened in shock, and he involuntarily exclaimed. From a distance, the cultivation star of the Alliance headquarters loomed extraordinarily impressive. It resembled a body without legs, while the two rows of smaller stars represented its arms. As for the elder materializing amidst the vast white glow, he appeared as the head of this body. This was no mere cultivation star. It was clearly a person. What audacity! To merge one's essence, spirit, and soul into this cultivation star for refinement, akin to a cuckoo occupying a magpie's nest, allowing oneself to become an eternal, indestructible soul to some extent. Wang Lin had long perceived the oddity of this cultivation star, which prompted him to let the black dragon test it. Now, witnessing it all, a gleam flashed in his eyes as he discerned the entire picture. Zhong Xuanzi's disciple, Long Panzai, must have devised this astounding idea of seizing heaven and earth when his lifespan was about to end, perfectly manifesting it. Any ancient monster should never be underestimated. A person capable of such a method must possess great wisdom. Wang Lin gazed at the ethereal elder, and even amid adversarial circumstances, he felt a sense of respect rising within him. Yan Lazy, observing all this, was already an exceptionally sharp individual. After a moment of contemplation, he grasped the situation and gasped, his expression revealing shock. I had only seen Long Panzai once before, thinking he had already passed on, but I never imagined. Wang Lin's gaze shifted, raising his right hand and pointing forward. Instantly, the previously recoiled black dragon roared again in struggle, charging madly towards the cultivation star. Its roar grew more frantic, and as it neared, it opened its massive mouth and unleashed a turbulent spray. The realm of devotional power erupted wide, as countless worship souls, whispering softly, rushed out, spreading like dragon flame, heading straight for the cultivation star. But in that very instant, everything changed in a flash. A piercing, frenzied roar suddenly erupted from within the cultivation star. It was a howl laced with madness, but more than that, it carried a terrifying aura of killing intent, so overwhelming it defied description. This killing aura, this was no ordinary hostility. It could only come from someone whose entire life had been steeped in endless slaughter. This was none other than the slaughter origin itself. Wang Lin recognized that roar, deeply, intimately. The very moment it rang out, his expression shifted for the first time. An emotion surged through him, raw and overwhelming. Brother Qingshui. I liked Qingshui, truly liked him, and his story too. Even though I was the one who created him, I still found him tragic and worthy of respect. About 2 years ago, when I first wrote about the Qingshui kingdom, I only mentioned him briefly. But even then, his story had already been laid out in the outline. Just a few hundred words, yet as I wrote, I felt sorrow for him. Maybe I'm stubborn when it comes to writing. I don't want nameless background characters. I want every person I write, whether main or supporting, to feel alive, to have flesh and blood. I like Qingshui. I hope you will too. The kindness Qingshui gave could never be weathered away by the passage of time. It would never vanish from the world. Wang Lin was a man of deep feeling. But this bond wasn't romantic. It was born the moment Qingshui, with just a single spell, recognized Wang Lin as his junior of a later generation. He passed down to him a complete divine ability, and more than that, he stood before him like a mountain when Wang Lin was weak, shielding him from the wind and rain. You are my junior. As long as I live, I won't let anyone hurt you, not even a little. That one sentence warmed Wang Lin for thousands of years. Back then, Wang Lin fled in despair. He lacked the strength to rescue Qingshui. But in that darkness, he made a decision. If he ever had even the slightest chance, he would go to the Cultivation Alliance and save his brother. He didn't know Bai Fan, nor did he acknowledge his supposed title as master. But Qingshui was different. He recognized him, from the depths of his heart. His brother for life. Qingshui's life was tragic. He was never truly happy. His wife died by his own hands. Everyone dear to him, slain during one of his frenzies. In the end, he was sealed away by Bai Fan, who took pity on him and preserved his soul. Though sealed, a trace of life remained. But that compassion only deepened his pain. And as his memories slowly returned, piece by piece, Qingshui descended into madness, driven insane by grief. His family had been destroyed early in life. As the crown prince of the Qingshui kingdom, he fled for his life, full of sorrow and despair. In that moment of collapse, he awakened the extreme realm. With towering hatred and boundless slaughter in his heart, he returned to the Qingshui kingdom. That night, rivers of blood flowed through the kingdom. Every cultivator perished. He had avenged himself, but the joy never came. It was lost forever. His life became nothing but killing. In that overwhelming slaughter, he stepped into the Thunder Immortal realm. There, He lived a life trapped between sorrow and bloodshed, until he met his master again, and met the woman who changed everything, who warmed the cold, brutal heart he thought he had buried for good. For her, he gave up the killing, gave up everything. In time, he became known in the Thunder Immortal realm as the immortal monarch Qingshui. He thought he'd finally found happiness again, lost for so many years. And for a time, he truly was happy. But it all vanished again, consumed by madness. Like a moon's reflection in water, so fragile, it shattered at a touch. He killed his wife with his own hands. The blood, filled with deep love, splattered on his face. Scalding hot, it made his body tremble, his soul tremble, and it jolted him out of his madness. In the moment of clarity, as he saw her trying to lift a trembling hand to gently touch his face, that delicate jade hand lost strength and fell. And from his mouth came the most despairing, soul-rending howl of his entire life. From that moment on, joy was no longer part of his world. That roar, bursting forth from the cultivation star, shook Wang Lin to his core. His composure shattered. In that instant, he could no longer remain calm. His eyes lit with excitement. Qingshui was alive. Madness filled the roar. Slaughter filled the roar. But Wang Lin laughed. He laughed joyfully, truly joyfully, because he knew Qingshui was not dead, and as long as he lived, Wang Lin would find a way to bring him back, to restore his brother's mind. The divine black dragon, charging toward the cultivation star, trembled as that roar washed over it. It felt the madness, the intensity of slaughter, and it sensed it clearly, that dense, unmistakable slaughter origin. Amidst Wang Lin's laughter, he stepped forward. His right hand shot out and grabbed the black dragon, flinging it back with a mighty throw. You're free now, but if you kill even one person from the inner realm, I'll annihilate your soul myself. The black dragon quivered. Joy flooded its eyes, the wild elation of survival. It nodded at Wang Lin, then turned and shot into the starry sky behind them, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin's figure flickered under the golden light, emitting a dazzling radiance that reached unimaginable heights. With a single step, he closed the distance to the cultivation star, which resembled a humanoid figure. In that instant, the right arm of the cultivation star, composed of countless smaller stars, shot toward him with a roar, carrying an immense force that surged directly toward Wang Lin. After learning that Qingshui was still alive, Wang Lin could no longer hold back his impatience. He stopped suppressing the repulsive force within his body, and as the right arm of the cultivation star neared, a flash of golden light enveloped his entire body. It suddenly contracted inward. His 7 golden star-like dots in the center of his brow spun rapidly. Raising his right hand into a fist, Wang Lin took a step forward and struck the massive right arm of the cultivation star with a powerful punch. A tremendous sound erupted, echoing through the heavens. The gigantic right arm of the cultivation star shook violently and shattered, with countless fragments flying in all directions. Wang Lin's body slightly paused but quickly returned to its normal rhythm. He took another step forward, and at that moment, the left arm of the cultivation star arrived at an astonishing speed, accompanied by a deafening roar. Get out of my way. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with golden light as he glared fiercely. In an instant, a golden lightning bolt shot out, crashing into the left arm of the cultivation star. The collision released a wave of golden flames that surged around, creating a massive shockwave as it met the left arm. With a loud boom, numerous cracks appeared on the cultivation star's left arm. The golden flames surged into the cracks, and as the intense heat spread, the arm instantly crumbled with a mighty roar. It seemed no force could halt Wang Lin's steps or his determination to save Qingshui. As he continued forward, Wang Lin took his third step and arrived directly above the massive cultivation star. At that moment, within the white light rising from the cultivation star, the ancient elder's eyes glowed with brilliance. He raised both hands and formed a seal in front of him. Then, with a swift motion, he pressed his palms together and pulled them apart with force. As soon as the seal appeared, the entire cultivation star trembled violently. The ground beneath it rippled as countless mountain peaks collapsed, but from the ruins, 2 massive mountain ranges erupted from the earth, soaring into the sky. From afar, these mountains appeared to stretch endlessly, standing like two towering branches. If there was a scroll between them, it would resemble an unfolded painting. Rivers and mountains painting, protect our alliance. The elder's voice, filled with the weight of time, echoed out. The moment his words sounded, a distorted ripple appeared between the two mountain ranges, forming a scene that resembled a giant painted curtain. From afar, it truly looked like a painting. As the curtain materialized, the entire cultivation star quaked, and within the rippling distortion, a landscape of mountains and rivers emerged, as if alive with soul. The scene ascended from the rivers and mountains painting, merging with the starry sky. Suddenly, a gigantic, illusory scroll appeared, about 100,000 feet in size, shaking the very stars around it. The scroll unfolded and became clearer, with the landscape expanding, depicting majestic mountains and rivers in grand detail. Wang Lin had seen the rivers and mountains painting before. It was the treasure used by the greedy wolf screen, with a replica of the rivers and mountains painting imprinted upon it. Today, Wang Lin was witnessing the true treasure of the Renegade Immortal realm, the rivers and mountains painting. When the Cultivation Alliance collapsed in the Rain realm, they were the first to enter and obtain many treasures. This tale is no lie. Wang Lin stood amidst the starry sky, feeling the immense power radiating from the rivers and mountains painting. Within it, Wang Lin even sensed a faint trace of devotional power, as if devotional disciples existed within the world of the rivers and mountains painting. The rivers and mountains painting formed its own world within, and its origin was shrouded in mystery, known to very few. At this moment, the rivers and mountains painting began to spread rapidly, emitting an enormous force that swept toward Wang Lin. In an instant, Wang Lin had a strange feeling, as though a netherworld beast were consuming him. The stars around him seemed to whirl like water, as if the rivers and mountains painting were absorbing them. A sense of time, as if it were rapidly slipping away, began to spread, and Wang Lin felt as if endless years were rushing past him with every pull. His clothes fluttered in the wind, and with golden light flashing from his eyes, Wang Lin raised his right hand, extending 5 fingers toward the sky. As he shook his right hand, countless ripples spread throughout the starry sky under the pull of the rivers and mountains painting. A booming sound echoed, and suddenly, a massive palm print appeared above Wang Lin and the rivers and mountains painting. The palm print was distinct, with clear fingerprints and ripples spreading around it. Even more astonishing was the overwhelming golden light radiating from the palm print, as if it was suffused with an immense amount of immortal power, filling the sky of the Qingshui star domain. This immortal power was so dense that it was earth-shattering, far surpassing the immortal thunder and immortal flame Wang Lin had used before, reaching a terrifying level. The soul subjugation seal. This was the most authentic soul subjugation seal, drawn from Wang Lin's immortal bloodline. Within Wang Lin's body, his immortal body, akin to his essence spirit, was operating rapidly. Waves of bloodline immortal energy surged out and into his right arm and palm, making the soul subjugation seal in the starry sky even more powerful. The sudden appearance of such an immense amount of immortal aura in the Qingshui star domain was like a drop of boiling oil splashing into a calm pool of water. As soon as the oil hit the water, it exploded with a deafening force. In the Qingshui star domain, or even within the 4 major star domains of the inner realm, such pure and refined immortal power had rarely been seen since the birth of these realms. Even if it had appeared before, it was never as incredibly pure as it was now. The moment the soul subjugation seal appeared, this pure immortal aura stirred up a tidal wave in the inner realm. It caused a stir in the hearts of several individuals, shaking them to the core in disbelief. In the Zheohe star domain, although it had already fallen and become part of the outer realm, deep in the northern part of Zhao River, a young man without any mark on his forehead was casually muttering to himself while calculating and walking. "Sai, why is the place Master Ma mentioned so hard to find? This should be the spot, but I still can't find the entrance." As the young man grumbled, he suddenly froze. His body trembled, and he spun around. His eyes gleamed with an intensity he had never shown since arriving in this realm. His expression also drastically changed, a shift more extreme than any he had ever experienced. This, this is immortal aura. The purity of this aura is so high that even Master Ma can't compare. This is the aura of a royal clan immortal. Who is it? Who has descended? Damn it. How could an immortal of the royal clan come to such a place? How did they find it? Also shocked by this immortal aura were the mysterious war ghost and the long-sealed ancient immortal domain within the inner realm. Within the shattered world, fragments of fissures flickered silently, as though remnants of broken cloth being swept by the wind. The Flame Thunder Master had taken most of the Thunder Immortal Realm continent. Now, only some irregular stone fragments remained, floating slowly in the broken heavens. Deep within what was left of the Thunder Immortal Realm, a round light ring appeared faintly. It was about 1,000 feet in diameter, resembling a glowing orb from afar. Inside the ring, a thatched cottage could be seen, surrounded by flowers and plants. An old man in black robes sat cross-legged outside the cottage. He wasn't meditating. Instead, he was holding a green leaf, seemingly observing the veins on it. This old man was none other than the peerless powerhouse who appeared during the first battle in the Sea of Clouds, the War Ghost. No one knew where the War Ghost was hiding within the inner realm, and no one could have imagined that, within the crumbling Thunder Immortal Realm, there existed another hidden dimension. The War Ghost, absorbed in his observation of the green leaf, suddenly shifted his gaze. His eyes gleamed with a flash of light, and if one looked closely, they could barely catch a hint of gold within that fleeting gleam. However, the gold was so faint that it was almost imperceptible. An immortal. The War Ghost's pupils contracted. The green leaf in his hand crumbled and turned to dust, spinning away in a whirl. The War Ghost was visibly moved. He slowly stood up, and his eyes, gleaming with brilliance, seemed as though they could pierce through the heavens, searching for the source of this shocking aura. His gaze could penetrate both the inner and outer realms, but now he could not find the person who had caused this overwhelming shock. Could it be an immortal of the royal clan? The War Ghost's face revealed astonishment, and he took a deep breath, slowly calming himself. He vaguely understood that such a true immortal, noble because of their bloodline, could only be sensed by others but never located. It was the existence of the immortal bloodline that made it impossible for others to pinpoint its exact location, like a fog obscuring their vision. That was why the young man in Zhao River had mistaken the arrival of the immortal, because he couldn't see what was happening at the Alliance headquarters. He could only faintly sense the immense immortal aura that had appeared within the realm. An immortal of the 9 grades, that must be gold. Above it is Luo Xian heaven and earth. The immortal who descended. Its immortal power is incredibly pure, indicating a noble bloodline, but their cultivation is not high, only about the level of a 7-grade immortal. I was fortunate enough to receive the inheritance of an immortal back in the day, and now I'm at the early void tribulation stage, equivalent to an earth immortal. If I could obtain this person's bloodline. The War Ghost's eyes flashed, and he fell silent. In another corner of the realm, there existed a place, a vast land under a dark sky. It existed within the inner realm, yet it also seemed not to exist. To be precise, this place overlapped with the inner realm, but it existed above it, like a painting hidden within another. Only by tearing away the outer layer of the painting could one reveal the world beneath. Here, countless statues of ancient gods, ancient demons, and ancient monsters stood tall across the land as far as the eye could see. This was the place where Wang Lin had come during his tribulation years ago, and it was the destination of the young man now in the Zheohe Star Domain. This place was the legendary ancient immortal domain, which had disappeared from the starry sky in the inner realm. The ground was covered with ancient clan statues, tens of thousands of them, densely packed, stretching as far as the eye could see. Deep within, for colossal statues of ancient gods stood tall, so massive they seemed to touch the heavens. These statues lacked the usual star mark between their brows. Instead, their foreheads were deeply sunken, as though the star marks had been forcibly absorbed. From a distance, each brow appeared to have a deep pit carved into it. Inside the pit of the first statue sat a figure cloaked entirely in golden light, legs crossed in meditation. The other 3 statues were exactly the same. Immortal power, such pure immortal power. If the master could obtain it, His awakening and memory recovery would surely be accelerated. The golden figure within the brow of the first statue murmured, slowly raising its right hand to reach out from within the deep pit. But the moment it moved, a strange force erupted from within the ancient god statue, surging toward the brow and instantly forming a bizarre seal. As the golden figure's hand touched the seal, it was violently repelled. A furious roar echoed from within. "White Tiger, stop wasting your immortal power. This seal has trapped us for years. It won't be long now. We will break free." A voice echoed from the second statue's brow, also housing a golden figure. "Vermilion Bird, you're the strategist. What are the chances of success?" Came a cold, eerie voice from within the third statue. "We won't fail. The result will come soon," came the calm reply. These four colossal statues were in fact sealing none other than the four great generals of the ancient immortal sovereign: Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise. If Wang Lin had been present to witness this scene, he would have been utterly shocked. The first thought flooding his mind would be, if the true Vermilion Bird general is sealed here, then who was the one claiming to be the Vermilion Bird in the land of falling stars in the primordial era? In the Qingshui star domain, at the Cultivation Alliance headquarters, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed skyward. Instantly, a massive palm imprint thundered into existence and descended toward the enormous rivers and mountains painting ahead. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but his heart was heavy. When Dragon Disciple had first awakened, his cultivation had only been at the Void Nirvana stage, which allowed Wang Lin to break both of his arms. But now, with the appearance of the rivers and mountains painting, Dragon Disciple, who had fused with the cultivation star, erupted with an overwhelmingly powerful mid-ethereal stage aura. Even more alarming, this aura was infused with devotional power from within the rivers and mountains painting, making it feel incredibly solid and real. That Dragon Disciple was a third-step great power, and possessed devotional power was not surprising to Wang Lin. As the disciple of Xun'er and a being from before the collapse of the four great immortal realms, he existed in the same era as the previous Seal Sovereign. Back then, the four great immortal realms were the birthplace of devotional power. Dragon Disciple must have received great fortune during that age. Though the reason behind his fusion with the cultivation star remained unknown, his strength was undoubtedly immense. Mid-ethereal stage, Wang Lin fell silent, a flash of golden light in his eyes. Killing that celestial omen master had seemed effortless, but in truth, Wang Lin had ignored the repulsive force within his body and unleashed his full power. Only by doing so, combining a single punch, a bolt of lightning, and a sea of fire, had he managed to destroy his opponent's body and capture his soul, that had already pushed him to his limits. The price was steep. The repulsive force within him was surging uncontrollably, threatening to tear him apart from within. The pain was unbearable, though he hid it well. Now, facing someone at the mid-ethereal stage, Wang Lin had no confidence of victory. That was why he had risked everything and unleashed the soul subjugation seal. This was the second time Wang Lin had ignored the backlash of the repulsive force and activated his full bloodline immortal power. As a result, the repulsive force raged even more violently inside him. His skin, beneath his clothes, bulged with blue veins, and countless blood threads surfaced, writhing. But Wang Lin no longer cared. He had come for one reason: to save Qingshui. He would save him, no matter the cost. With a fierce glint in his eye, Wang Lin took a step forward and raised his right hand. With a deep growl, he slammed his palm down. The massive soul subjugation seal, now merged with boundless immortal power, had become a true immortal art. The thunderous roar that followed shook the heavens. The enormous hand formed by the soul subjugation seal rippled with waves of force as it approached the rivers and mountains painting. The scene was astonishing from afar. The hand seemed ready to tear the painting apart. As it neared, the surrounding ripples struck first. The rivers and mountains painting trembled, and its suction force surged, twisting the approaching ripples. In that brief moment of distortion, the giant palm imprint struck the painting. A deafening explosion burst forth, shaking the heavens and earth. A massive shockwave erupted and swept out in all directions. Wang Lin's body trembled. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, and he staggered back several steps. Within him, the repulsive force erupted violently, roaring and crashing through his body. His immortal body, akin to his essence spirit, was relentlessly attacking his physical form, while his body, in turn, unleashed the power of Tao Ancient, seeking to destroy the immortal body. The clash of these two forces caused Wang Lin to stagger back, with the sound of tearing emanating from his body, as though it was about to be torn in two. Looking at the soul subjugation seal, it grabbed hold of the rivers and mountains painting amidst the shockwave, tearing a corner of the painting's screen apart. It then entered the canvas, and the booming sounds echoed, shattering vast regions of mountains and rivers within it. However, the rivers and mountains painting was quite mysterious. At the very moment when its mountains and rivers crumbled, they were immediately resketched. Not only that, but a massive palm print appeared within the painting. It started as a blur but quickly solidified, as if learning, and in an instant, it collided directly with the soul subjugation seal that Wang Lin had sent into the painting. The deafening roar reverberated, shaking the starry sky. The elderly figure within the white light on the massive cultivation star saw his aura surge once again, and faintly, it seemed as though he had reached the peak of the mid-ethereal stage. Those who violate my alliance shall face Tao dispersion and soul scattering. Their flesh perished, their body destroyed. The ancient voice rang out, and the rivers and mountains painting suddenly restored itself, with the torn section healing, the vast image slowly pressing down on Wang Lin. Wang Lin laughed fiercely, staring intensely at the elderly figure within the white light. He raised his right hand and waved forward, and suddenly, a bow appeared from within his body. What use is your alliance? The outer realm's ancient stars invade, the inner realm shattered. The Cloud Sea cultivators have died in large numbers. Zhao River has fallen. Luo Tian sacrifices his life, and Qingshui struggles. Yet your disciple Xuanzi has become a lackey of the outer realm, and your alliance has been overtaken by outer realm cultivators, becoming a tribe. Even the Rainbow Realm hides its filth here. I am the current Palm Sovereign, come to destroy the Rainbow Realm, rescue my senior brother Qingshui, and kill the Outer Realm cultivators. What right do you have to stop me? What? What did you say? The ancient voice faltered. You are the Palm Sovereign? Wang Lin held the bow in his left hand. The bowstring, which had previously snapped, now fused with Wang Lin's bloodline. But once drawn, it felt as if he were pulling on his very own tendons. But at this moment, Wang Lin no longer cared about the consequences. Though his mind had become twisted, his true nature had not changed. His nature was simple. Once he made a decision, he would never retreat. He would save Qingshui at any cost. With a furious growl, Wang Lin gripped the bowstring, his face turning pale, the veins on his face bulging. He suddenly yanked the bowstring back with a loud hum, and the string was drawn taut. As the bowstring snapped into place, Wang Lin immediately felt the sensation of his muscles being violently pulled. His complexion paled slightly, but his eyes were bloodshot. In this instant, any notion of repulsive force, of muscle strain, was thrown aside. His only thought was to kill anyone who stood in his way of rescuing Qingshui. Whether what I said before was true or false, ask your disciple and you'll know. Wang Lin's voice was cold and vicious. He pulled the bowstring back even further, and a tremendous force emanated from the bow, as though it could shatter the heavens themselves. The elderly figure within the white light gazed gravely at Wang Lin's bow, his eyes filled with confusion. This was the first time he had awakened since his long slumber, an awakening triggered by his disciple Xuanzi's call. After waking, he knew nothing of the events that had transpired, seeing only Wang Lin coming to destroy the star. Wang Lin's words shook him deeply. Although he had been in slumber, he still remembered that he was a cultivator of the inner realm, and he recalled the favor of the Palm Sovereign from long ago. In silence, the elderly figure lowered his head and looked down at the enormous cultivation star. He raised his right hand and waved downward, and immediately, 3 figures were engulfed by white light, pulled out from within the cultivation star. The 3 figures were terrified elderly men, one of whom was none other than Xuanzi. But unlike his middle-aged appearance from before, he now appeared as an old man for reasons unknown. The other two figures were the current Grand Elders of the Cultivation Alliance. The two Grand Elders trembled, their expressions replaced by reverence as they knelt before the Elder, trembling as they spoke. "Greetings, Grand Elder." "Greetings, Master," Xuanzi said, his mind filled with panic. He was terrified to the extreme, having heard Wang Lin's words, and his heart raced as he quickly devised an excuse. "Master, things are not as that Junior said. It's—" He raised his head, trembling, and was about to explain. But the dragon disciple, coldly glancing at him, made Xuanzi's words falter. He could not bring himself to speak any further, quivering with fear. "You are Zhangxi. Back when I slept, you were my disciple." Dragon disciple's gaze fell on the elderly figure on the left side of the other two. "It is I, the Junior, Zhangxi." The elderly figure's eyes filled with excitement. He never imagined the other would remember him. "Tell me, was what this person just said true or false?" Dragon disciple's voice was calm, but it carried an undeniable authority. Zhangxi's eyes showed hesitation, and in a moment of fear, he instinctively glanced at Xuanzi. "Useless waste," Long Ponji sneered, raising his right hand and swiping it forward. A blinding white light shot out toward the old man. Amidst a scream, the old man's body violently collapsed, his blood and flesh splattering, landing on Xuanzi and another elder. Wang Lin coldly watched this scene, pulling the bowstring he held just a little tighter. "Kill Zhangxi." Long Ponji's gaze towards Xuanzi carried deep sorrow. He sighed heavily, raised his right hand, and grasped the air. In an instant, the other elder, screaming in fear, was slammed onto the heavenly crown by Long Ponji's palm. His overwhelming spiritual power surged into the man's mind, sweeping through it, and Long Ponji's expression grew increasingly grim. "Vile disciple, how dare you?" Long Ponji clenched his right hand. With a terrifying roar, the old man's body shattered completely, his form and soul obliterated. Long Ponji spun sharply, glaring fiercely at Xuanzi, anger blazing in his eyes. Xuanzi's face turned pale, and in fear, he instinctively took several steps back, falling to his knees with a thud. His voice distorted, and he hurriedly spoke. "Master, please spare me. Master, please spare me. There is more to this matter. The Outer Realm's ancient star cultivators have launched a massive invasion, and the Inner Realm is simply no match for them. Even if I resisted, it would have been useless. I had to protect the Alliance. In order to ensure its survival, I had no choice but to reach an agreement with the Outer Realm. The Long Xun'er has already promised to ensure the Alliance's continuation for 10,000 years. Master, you've been asleep for these years and don't know the full picture. Nearly 1,000 years ago, the Luotian Star Domain launched a war against the Alliance. The Alliance was shattered, and only the headquarters survived. Back then, I called out to you, but you did not respond. I have no feelings for the Inner Realm. Since they can attack the Alliance, why can't we help the cultivators of the Outer Realm? Moreover, the Rainbow Realm was discovered by you, Master. Back then, Outer Realm cultivators appeared, and though you killed them and sealed the Rainbow Realm, establishing the Cultivation Alliance headquarters here to suppress this realm, Master, you've been asleep for so many years, unaware of the changes. Even if we suppress the realm for the Inner Realm, what use is it? The Palm Sovereign of the Outer Realm is so powerful that I'm afraid even you, Master, cannot defeat him. What can we use to resist? The collapse of the Inner Realm is inevitable. It's beyond saving, Master. With your cultivation, if we ally with the Outer Realm, we can surely gain great fortune. Why toil away for this dying realm? You. Long Ponji looked at Xuanzi, his expression deepening with sorrow. He hadn't found much in the elder's memories. Everything was just a show. But Xuanzi, in his fear, had revealed everything. The matters of the Inner Realm, no matter how much fighting there is, are none of the Outer Realm's concern. As long as they don't invade here, I will not awaken. The rise and fall of the Alliance is determined by the heavens. The reason I had you establish the Cultivation Alliance was not to control Qingshui, but to elevate our Qingshui cultivators' cultivation in such a harsh environment. This was all for the battle with the Outer Realm. Long Ponji sighed deeply. The Cultivation Alliance, the Cultivation Alliance. The Outer Realm joined forces with you because they saw me merging with this cultivation star. It's because you must have revealed my existence to them, using me as your leverage to gain fortune. Long Panji knew his disciple too well. He gazed at Xuanzi, whose face was now ashen, and seemed to faintly recall a time when there was no cultivation alliance. On a mountain of a cultivation star, a young beggar with unshakable determination had climbed the peak step by step over the course of 17 days, bleeding all the while, until he saw himself at the summit. It was all because the boy wanted to become an immortal. In his homeland, there was a legend that if one could climb this mountain and gain a heavenly chance, they would see an immortal. Xun'er, you once said that your greatest wish as a child was to return home with wealth and honor. Long Panji's eyes showed nostalgia, his voice gradually softening. But this expression, seen by Xuanzi, only made him feel despair. His body trembled, and he howled in panic. Master, I never intended to break the seal of the Rainbow Realm. It was the immortal monarch Qingshui. He was the one who barged in here, forcing me to break the seal of the Rainbow Realm. He opened the Rainbow Realm. This is all his fault. I am not to blame. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, his gaze fixed on Xuanzi. Behind him, Yen Lazy's eyes burned with towering hatred, his breathing quickening. But Long Panji seemed not to hear these words. His gaze towards Xuanzi grew increasingly gentle. Back then, your body was weak and you could not cultivate. I pitied your perseverance and took care of your health. I brought you the 5 heavenly veins into your body, allowing you to possess Dao Bone. But now, you have lost your Dao heart. In Long Panji's eyes, memories of the past resurfaced. He sighed deeply, and with a flick of his right sleeve, a white storm roared into existence. Xuanzi's face changed dramatically. He retreated wildly, letting out a piercing scream. Master, spare me. Master, don't kill me. Master, I was wrong. I know my mistake, Master. As he retreated in despair, when the storm loomed over him, he let out a bitter laugh and stopped retreating, closing his eyes. With a loud boom, the storm swept him up, but it didn't harm him in the slightest. Instead, it pulled him behind Long Panji, avoiding the ominous pull of Wang Lin's drawn bow. You've committed an unforgivable crime, caused a disaster, and you have lost the Dao heart of an inner realm cultivator. But you are my disciple. As your master, I have a responsibility for your actions. Let me atone for your mistake. Long Panji's gentle gaze landed on Xuanzi, who had frozen in place, and he turned to deeply bow toward Wang Lin. Sealing venerable, for all the wrongs he has committed, I, Long Panji, will bear them. He raised his right hand and struck his chest with a heavy thud. In that instant, Long Panji expelled a breath of essence spirit chi, his face darkened. The vast cultivation star beneath him shattered with a deafening crash. The entire star was engulfed in gray, its plants withering, mountains collapsing, and rivers evaporating. Fissures and ravines spread, and the star broke apart into pieces. Amidst its collapse, white mist rose, merging into Long Panji's body. At the same moment, a fire suddenly ignited within his illusory form. With this strike, I sever my own life force, exchanging it for the burning of my essence spirit. With my cultivation, I can unleash the power of the early profound void stage. I will go and eliminate all the outer realm cultivators in this world. Destroy all 7 colored realms outside of this place. Once Xiao River falls, I will reclaim it. In return, I will save Xuanzi. Long Panji clasped his hands toward Wang Lin, then turned his gaze back to Xuanzi, his eyes soft. Master, Xuanzi snapped out of his daze, kneeling and continuously banging his head against the ground. His eyes were filled with immense sorrow and deep regret. Let's go. Long Panji sighed softly, lifting Xuanzi as he walked away into the distance. I understand my disciple. He always prepares for both outcomes. The reason immortal monarch Qingshui is unharmed is that Xuanzi left a talisman of protection for himself to survive. As his voice faded, a white storm appeared from nowhere, charging straight for a blood-red rift beneath the shattered cultivation star. With a mighty roar, the storm tore open the rift in a wide range, the red glow dissipating to reveal the shimmering, 7-colored light beneath. Qingshui was there,